you transition quickly after a cup window that's closing right now. You get these guys in later rounds, late in the first when you're doing well. You get some guys in the third and the second round who can step up into your top 6 and your top 9, and it's an easy transition. And it's kind of what Nashville has done and what they're doing right now. I mean, Eli Tolvanen, we talked about him on the last show. He's coming over. He was a 30th overall pick, and he's going to jump right up into their top 6 a year after being drafted. That's the only way you get back, you transition quickly, is getting these guys late in the first round or in the second or third round. And the Ducks have done exceptionally well, but there's still a long way to go. I think there's still a lot of holes to fill. And once Getzlaf and Perry out of the lineup, like you said, that's going to be very hard to fill the role those guys played, especially Ryan Getzlaf. I mean, you're really not going to replace him, and you're just going to have to build up a lot of depth guys or get really lucky and either have a bad season and pull a top 5 pick or pull a guy in the late first round that can kind of replace that type of production.
We got another question in the chat, or should we hit the social media?
Hitting the social media. So we got McCann Sanford on Twitter, who asked, does Perry get his 10th, 50th point season? He's 10 points away as of right now, just as Getzlaf records his 11th, 50th point season.
For me, I gotta say yes.
Yeah.
I feel like he will. I feel
he's
like
got to go on a bit of a tear.
Points. Yeah, and he needs 9 points, right? He has 41 right now, if I'm correct.
I believe so. Yeah. If it hasn't
Looking
been
at
updated,
his stats right now,
yeah.
14 goals, 27 assists, 41 points.
Yeah.
He needs 9 points. Right now, he has 5 points in his last 5 games. He's got to average. He doesn't have to hit a point a game. Be nice,
No.
get over the hump nice and easy. But he's got to be pretty close there. I'd like to be on the nice side of things and give him some credit after I've bashed him all year and say that he's having a better season than what I'm giving him credit for based on what we've already talked about with him. I think he will. What about you?
I think it's possible. I mean, this line has to continue playing well, because if they slump for 5 games, I don't think there's any chance of him making it to 50 points. I mean, they've got to be consistently good leading into the playoffs, and I mean, they have to be consistently good for the Ducks to even have a shot at making the playoffs at this point. And, I don't know. It's tough because I feel like Getzlaf and Rakell are playing at another level. I'm not saying Perry's coasting on that line. I think he's contributing a lot. I mean, his setup pass to Rakell in the game against Nashville was unbelievable. So he's still playing. He's still contributing. But I feel like he's not pulling as much weight as Getzlaf and Rakell are. So I feel like he comes up just short. I feel like they can't continue that consistent play for the rest of the season. I feel like he probably finishes like 1 or 2 points short, so about 48, 49 points, unfortunately. But I wouldn't put it past him, though, to get there. In my personal opinion, I feel like he just comes up just short.
All right, let's get over to a question on Instagram. Is Gorilla X Gabe 92 says, is it time to break up the Kessler line? Have we seen enough of the Kessler, Cogliano, and Silverberg line where it's time where we line shuffle? I'm going to let you take that one, Eddie. Do you feel like that's something the Ducks should consider, or do we got to just stay with what we've got because we've already got that top 9 settled?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because I don't think you break up the first line at this point with the way they're playing. There's no point in doing so. I think Henry, Cash, and Richie finally had what looked like a better game from what they were playing recently. So there's not really much you can do. I mean, you're not going to move any of those guys down onto the fourth line. You're kind of stuck with what you have. And I think the only way you break them up right now is if you have a massive lineup shuffle where you take Perry off the first line, you swap some guys around, you mix up that third line, and you kind of just mix everything up and hope things go well. But, I mean, not much can even really change. It really just changes on the wings. You're still going to have Getzlaf as number 1 center. You're going to have Kessler number 2, Henry number 3. And all that can really change is maybe moving Cassius, Silfverberg, and Perry up and down on the right wing, and moving Richie and Cogliano up and down on the left wing, because I don't think you're taking Getzlaf away from Perry at this point. So we're not going to see too much difference if it does get broken up, but it kind of just seems like that's always the go-to for Carlisle, no matter how bad they're playing. I don't see it happening as much as it might even be beneficial just to split it up at this point.
All right, we got another question here from SNA Ducks fan on Instagram. It says, do you think if the Ducks fall short of the playoffs and or bounce in the first round, will GMBM be forced to clean house?
That's a
tough
vague
one.
question, because cleaning house as in
I'm going to go
No
with personnel.
Getzlaff, no Perry, or like
Going
just
personnel.
Carlisle. So okay, we're going personnel. Okay, we'll go.
Let's go everybody. You can go players, you can go coaches. I think let's do both.
Okay.
What do you think about that? I'll take a crack at it first. How about that?
Yeah.
Since you took a crack at the last one. I don't think that he's going to get rid of Carlisle. He got rid of Boudreaux and brought back the same coach that he hired or that he fired in order to bring Boudreaux back.
Yeah.
I think that Carlisle is going to get the benefit of the injuries, like you said earlier in the show, that the Ducks, like he really feels that they have more to give. That's why we didn't make a giant trade at the trade deadline, is he felt this team, owed themselves and the club more, and to show they could perform. And that's why he brought in all his gritty McGritterton leadership guys in at the trade deadline, rather than somebody who's valuable like maybe an Evander Kane or a Thomas Tatar or something we've gone over a million times on the show. I think if anything happens here, you're just going to see – I think you're going to see guys that we would think are going to be signed are going to get moved for other people coming on. Maybe a Nick Ritchie trade. He's an RFA. Yeah. Nobody wants to see Kasha traded, but his value is probably high right now, and we don't know really what he is, considering this is only his first season with Anaheim playing up at the big club. His value is probably high right now. You could probably get something valuable for him to bring in another player, or maybe even Montour. He's been showcased, and I would hate to see it, and I really don't see it happening, because the Ducks finally have a solid four that they can put on the ice every night, and Carlisle and Bob Murray love their defensemen. I can't see them trading Montour, but that's like the furthest reach I would go there. But I would definitely see a guy like Ritchie or Kasha being traded in order to bring in other talent if this team decides to falter, either by missing the playoffs or come playoff time.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, just kind of based off what we've heard from Murray so far this season, especially in his comments to The Athletic, where he says he really thinks this team has what it takes, but he almost just kind of wrote off this season to the injuries, and that was it. I think that was a little bit of a cop-out, because I think there's a lot more than just the injuries that fall for the way the Ducks are playing and the fact that they might miss the playoffs. But, yeah, I mean, if it kind of just feels like Carlisle is safe, at least for next season. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs next season or they get bounced in the first round, then I think this question comes a little bit more relevant, and whether he bounces Carlisle or not, especially if the team's healthy all year. I think then you can actually pass the blame and say, hey, yeah, this is on you, this is on the players, this is on this guy, that guy. And I think you could really see some of the big names move. But, yeah, as for this season, I think you're right. I think if you see any of the guys who are currently in the top 9 or top 4, it's really Ritchie. It could be Kasha if that's what a team is asking for. Because I think if you're going to trade him, like you said, you sell high now and hope that he doesn't turn into another William Karlsson situation where he becomes a consistent 30-goal scorer down the road. But, yeah, I feel like that's it. I feel like, and I honestly, in my opinion, don't think any of those big moves even happen unless you can bring in a guy like Pacioretty, who we were linked with at the deadline. But it almost just seems like that isn't something the Ducks are going to do anyway.
No, and, it's kind of, put a cherry on top of that question is, you're looking at a cap situation where all these guys have no movement clauses. You're going to have to convince Ryan Getzlaff, who just bought a new house here in Orange County. You're going to have to convince Corey Perry, who just had his first child here in Southern California and is locked in a long-term lucrative contract. You're going to have to convince Ryan Kessler, who's just settled in here with his family. These are all big-name, big-money guys, but they're all almost impossible to move unless you get there okay. And unless you're going to try to run them out of Anaheim, which isn't good for business, really. I mean, when you're talking about moving star players out like that, because of maybe your cap mismanagement, you want to bring in younger guys or whatever, that doesn't look good on the organization. So I really feel like nothing like that's going to happen majorly. They can only really toy with the guys that are RFAs or UFAs, and I don't think they're going to do that. And besides that, I mean, what are they going to do? Move Lindholm or Manson or another guy that doesn't have or Raquel? I mean, there's no way they're going to do that. It's just not happening.
Yeah, that's kind of off limits. I think if there's 2 guys on this team that are untouchable, it's Lindholm and Raquel, and then to some extent as well John Gibson. I think those are the 3 guys that you just can't touch, can't move. They're a big part of not just the team now, but down the road as well. And they're really the guys that are going to poise this team for a quick transition rather than a long rebuild, like a 5 to 10 year rebuild. I think those are the cornerstones of the next team in Anaheim to really compete for a Stanley Cup.
Have we got any more questions here in the chat, or are we all good?
We're all good. I think everybody's just kind of trying to get over the back-to-back losses. We were a little bit lonely in the chat last night as well, and understandable. I mean, a lot of people are just disappointed in the last 2 losses, so I don't blame them for not wanting to come into the chat.
No, it's true, man. It puts a totally different vibe on the show when we end up harping on all the negative aspects of the Ducks, and I'm like, okay, I got to find something positive. Let's talk about Corey Perry. Let's talk about the ESports League. Let's talk about something fun. Just because it's hard coming away from not getting points in back-to-back games. But we got to give a shout-out to everybody who participated tonight, all the people who tuned in live. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. We know we're brand new, and thanks for giving us a chance. Eddie and I love it, and we appreciate it. Eddie, tell everybody where they can find us.
Yep, so I mean, most of you are probably coming in from Twitter, so if you're not, we're at Forever Mighty FM on Twitter. We post a lot of our stuff there, so if you're looking for any gifts during the game, we're not necessarily live tweeting, but you'll see a lot of the action. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook now as well at Forever Mighty on Facebook. We're on Spreaker is where you can find the shows the day after. So if you're listening to this live and you want to see some of our previous shows, we're on Spreaker. But yeah, I mean, we're on iTunes as well now and Google Play. We finally got the email on the last show, which I broke the news to Patrick. He didn't know we had got the email.
No,
and
I don't
live
know.
On Google Play. But yeah, if you guys want to head over to iTunes and leave us a review or rating, if you like the show, then that helps us a lot, kind of spread it out there. I mean, like Patrick said, we're new, so just getting us out there, getting our name out there is big at this point.
All right, guys, so we'll be sure that you guys enjoy your off weekend. You don't have to worry about us tuning in at all. We'll be back and ready, though, on Monday night as the Ducks come home and take on the St. Louis Blues in another, as we've said, game after game must win for Anaheim here.
Yeah.
And that'll do it. I hope everyone has a great and safe Friday night. We'll talk to you guys Monday.